Everyone's talking, ideas flying back and forth, and you're sitting there, quiet. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you already ran through four versions of what you could say, predicted how each would land, and decided none were worth the misunderstanding that would follow. So you stay silent, and someone assumes you're lost. That's the psychology of people with extremely high IQ. Not the version the world imagines, the fast talker, the show off, the one with all the answers. The real version, the one no one warned you about. You write an email in 2 minutes and spend 20 adjusting the tone so it doesn't sound too much. Someone asks a simple question, where should we eat? And your brain doesn't give you one answer, it gives you a matrix, proximity, budget, what they ordered last time, whether they actually liked it or just said they did. And while you're running that silent calculation, they look at you and say, it's not that deep. But for you, everything is that deep. It always has been. And here's the part that quietly does damage. The world has names for you, and none of them are right. They call the silence antisocial, the overthinking anxiety, the long pauses slow, and the worst one, the one that stays under your skin, you're not living up to your potential. As if the problem is effort, when the truth is, your brain exhausted itself doing work no one could see, long before it got to the task the world was actually measuring. But here's where this really started. It wasn't in a meeting. It was much earlier. Picture this. You're 9 years old. The teacher hands out a worksheet. You finish before she's done explaining. You look around. Everyone else is still writing. So you do what any kid does with 40 empty minutes. You disappear into your own head. Stare at the ceiling. Pull at a thread on your sleeve. Build a world behind your eyes. The teacher walks by, taps your desk, and later writes, bright but doesn't apply himself. That was the first time the world told you that the way your brain works is a problem, and you believed it. You've been believing some version of it ever since. Now here's the piece that changes the story. A psychologist named Kazimierz Dabrowski spent years studying intense minds, not to fix them, but to understand them. He found that gifted individuals tend to have what he called overexcitabilities, not a disorder, an innate intensity. Your brain doesn't just think more, it tends to feel more, imagine more, notice more, all at once, all the time. Think of it like this. Most people's minds are radio tuned to one station, clear signal, simple. Your mind picks up every frequency simultaneously. The conversation, the subtext, the body language contradicting the words, three possible futures branching from this moment, and a memory from 6 years ago that none of it should have triggered, but somehow did. From the outside, that looks like distraction or overthinking. From the inside, you're not thinking too much, you're receiving too much, and no one ever taught you where the volume knob is. In a conversation, while they're listening to respond, you're listening to understand, tracking the voice shift, the word they chose instead of the one they almost said. By the time you've processed all that, the conversation moved on without you. That's not social awkwardness. That's a mind picking up on layers of subtext most people don't even register and not knowing how to unsee them. Author Mary-Elaine Jacobsen calls it everyday genius, the kind nobody celebrates. It's not equations on a chalkboard. If you quietly simplifying your language so others can follow, adding, I might be wrong, to things you know are right, performing a version of yourself 3 frequencies below where your mind actually operates. You've been translating yourself down so long, you forgot the original language was yours. And that translation has a price. Burnout that doesn't match your output. Relationships that slowly pull away, not because you did something wrong, but because someone said the thing you'd been bracing for. You think too much, and you heard what they meant. You're too much. That's not a flaw. That's a processing system that exhausted itself doing invisible work and got blamed for the fatigue. So here's one thing you can take with you. You are allowed to stop translating yourself into simpler versions for other people's comfort. Not every room deserves your full frequency, but the rooms that do, You shouldn't have to whisper in them. And for the nights when the radio won't stop, try this. Don't fight it. Give it a container. Say, you have until this timer runs out. Then we're done for tonight. You're not smashing the radio. You're just teaching it the volume doesn't have to be all or nothing. You were never too much. You were a radio receiving every frequency in a world that only listens to one. And instead of turning you up, they told you to turn yourself off. You don't need to do that anymore. If you remember the exact moment you first learned to make yourself smaller, tell me about it. And if you've ever wondered why you feel everything so deeply, even things that aren't yours to carry, that video is next.